Okay, joining us now is CBS News Miami's Jim DeFede. And Jim, what did Donald Trump need to do tonight, and was he successful?
So I think more than anything, what Donald Trump set out to do was to try to control or try to give an impression that he was a toned down Donald Trump. You know, and I think you even heard in the style and tone of his speech, he was more sedate, particularly in the first half of the speech. You know, the knock on Donald Trump and the concern among independents, not folks who are in that auditorium, you know, that group, they love Donald Trump. But for so many people, what they don't want is to return to the Trump of 2016 to 2020, the chaos presidency, the times where it just seemed like anything and everything happened and came at a whirlwind pace. Donald Trump was setting out to try to relieve those fears and say, I'm different now, whether it was because of the assassin's bullet and the attempt on his life, or because he's a little bit longer, you know, and able to sort of move along in his life with this race. But look, Donald Trump knows he's winning right now. He is ahead. And he spoke with an air of confidence, knowing that he didn't need to throw any wild pitches out there, need to say anything really crazy to get people's attention. So I think he delivered a very even-keeled speech. Wasn't always the most exciting, but I think it did what it needed to do.
You could tell there was a concerted effort to avoid saying President Biden's name at all in the speech. I think maybe said once, and then he said, I'm not going to say his name, and just referred to the current administration. So the tone's certainly different than we've seen in the past, but the themes of the past are still there.
No, absolutely. And look, here's the most Trumpian thing of all. Only Donald Trump would lie about the crowd size at his attempted assassination. He said there were tens of thousands of people there. There were not. We could go through the speech and fact check it, and there are plenty of things that others will fact check along the lines about immigration and energy policy and crime rates and all the rest of it. So yes, all of those themes that are traditional for Donald Trump were still in this speech. But I think it's one thing that's important to remember, and I know we're going to talk about Joe Biden here in a second. A lot of, you know, Donald Trump is not a particularly strong candidate. You know, he still has very high unfavorable ratings. Now, certainly his appearance after the events of last Saturday, that tragic event there, you know, has raised his standing some. But a lot of the policies of the Republican Party do not play well with the American public. And so the problem is that the Democrats just don't have a candidate right now who can deliver that message. But look, bottom line is Republicans did exactly what they wanted to do in this convention. They had 4 days of absolute unity. I've never seen a Republican convention this well organized and delivering and hitting on all those themes.
All right, now let's talk about Joe Biden. With all the pressure coming at him to step aside, do you see any way that he stays in this race?
I think it's virtually impossible. I said earlier, and I think when I said it, I actually heard Lauren gasp a little when I said it at 5. I said that I do believe Joe Biden's candidacy is over. And I want to be clear what I mean by that. It's over because either he will step aside, and I think there is increasing likelihood that he will, or it's over because the party is so fractured that even if he remains, he's a ghost candidate. Because look at what we just watched on the Republican convention. 4 days of people energetically embracing, loving Donald Trump. What is the Democratic convention going to look like with Joe Biden, you know, there at the top of the ticket when you have dozens of House members and all of these icons in the Democratic Party all saying publicly now, he can't really do the job. He can't move forward. I don't know how you sell that message, because as a candidate, you want to focus your attention on your opponent, in this case, Donald Trump. Instead, he's going to have to spend the next 15 weeks, if he stays in the race, convincing people he's actually able to do the job when so many of the others in the Democratic Party say he can't. And so that's why his candidacy is, for all intent and purpose, over. And I do expect that at some point he will recognize that, because as one Democrat I spoke to today told me that if he doesn't get out by, say, Monday or Tuesday, then the dam will break, and you will see probably a letter signed by upwards of 100 members of Congress saying that he needs to step aside. And if that happens, that's it. It's over.
And that time is ticking toward that convention where they need to take that roll call vote to determine who
by August 1st.
Exactly.
So the convention is August 18th, but that vote has to take place on August 1st, and so that's why we're in this really tight race.
Get some rest, because I know you're going to be on the air here at 6 o'clock.
6 a.m. Tune in. We'll get some coffee.